What's up, guys? So, I recently saw the newest MCU movie, Deadpool and Wolverine, and yeah, I liked it. I thought it was good. I wouldn't say it's a masterpiece, but it's one of the better MCU movies released. People were saying that like this was gonna be the movie to save Marvel, and I'm like, come on, that's a bit much, but like, I still really enjoyed the film. So like how this movie brought back Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, Marvel has recently announced that Robert Downey Jr. will come back to the MCU, but not as Iron Man, as Doctor Doom for Avengers 5. I just want to point that out since Marvel is going to continue the trend of bringing back like old actors. So, okay, back to Deadpool. So this is the third film in the Deadpool series, and even though the first two films aren't a part of the MCU, this one is because Disney bought Fox and now they own all the X-Men characters including Deadpool and Wolverine, so they tied this movie into the MCU using the multiverse. Basically what happens is like the TVA from Loki comes to take Deadpool from his universe, and Deadpool then learns that his universe is being destroyed since Wolverine died. So Deadpool finds a Wolverine from another universe to replace this one. So Deadpool and Wolverine go on an adventure to save the multiverse. That's the basic plot of the film, and I will be warning you that this video will include spoilers. So if you don't want to get spoiled for Deadpool and Wolverine, don't watch this video before I spoil the fact that this movie contains a 10-minute sex scene between Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds. So yeah, this is a Ryan Reynolds Deadpool movie, but Hugh Jackman returns as Wolverine and is like the co-lead of the film. Deadpool and Wolverine are great together in this film. Their dynamic is so funny, and Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, like, they have really good chemistry. Also, like, the Wolverine suit is just great. It's insane that it took 24 years for us to get Hugh Jackman to actually wear like the Wolverine suit, and it's like, comic accurate. It's like yellow and blue. It looks good. Yeah, the opening of this movie I loved. What I love about the Deadpool movies are like the openings. They always do that great. I loved how like Deadpool was like dancing to Instinct's Bye Bye Bye. Like that was amazing. And also like it had just Deadpool killing a bunch of TVA agents in like creative and violent ways, which is like, that is just so Deadpool. And what I love about the Deadpool openings are that they're both cool and funny, and this film's opening is no exception. It's also funny how Deadpool goes to the grave of Wolverine from the end of Logan, and he digs up Wolverine's corpse. I like that dark humor. It's kind of pissing on the ending of Logan, but that's a very Deadpool thing to do. So the only thing I'm confused about is, why is Wolverine already dead? Because if you've watched Logan, you know that film takes place in 2029, so I don't know how, like, Wolverine is already dead when, like, he died in 2029. Something I was afraid about this film is that it would just be fan service filled with cameos. Even though there are a lot of cameos in the film, I still think they actually did a good job at integrating the cameos into the film. Yeah, the first cameo I want to talk about is Jon Favreau as Happy Hogan. So basically what happens is that Deadpool is in Earth 616, which is like the MCU, and Happy is interviewing him to like be a part of the Avengers, and this part really confused me because it takes place in 2018, but like, how is Deadpool in Earth 616? Like, because it is established that Deadpool is not from Earth 616. He's from, like, the Fox universe. And, like, I don't know how there was a time in 2018 where Deadpool got to the MCU. Like, that didn't make sense. I also like how this film is tied to Loki and its use of the TVA. Deadpool and Wolverine both get transported to the void from Loki, and Aloith also appears. I also like the joke where when Aloith is mentioned, Deadpool's like, Aloith from Loki season 1 episode 5. I also like how like the void was filled with the Fox characters from the destroyed universes. We get like the minor characters from the old X-Men movies like Pyro, Sabretooth, Toad, Azazel, Juggernaut, Lady Deathstrike, and Callisto. Also, we got another character who cameoed in the Void, and I was not expecting this. So we hear a familiar voice in a hood talk to Deadpool and Wolverine, and then he takes off the hood, and we see Chris Evans. And Deadpool thinks it's Captain America because, you know, who else would it be? But then he says, "Flame on," and turns into the Human Torch. So, okay, the second I saw Chris Evans, I knew that he was going to be the Human Torch because, like, he's a Fox character. I also don't think this would be a great time to bring back Captain America. And it just makes more sense to have Chris Evans come back as Human Torch as a joke, because like it fits this movie better. And also, the scene was literally predicted by my boy Soups. Imagine a Portals like moment in Multiverse of Madness where all the most nostalgic Marvel heroes are coming through. Then one portal opens and Chris Evans walks through, and everyone thinks it's Cap, but he says two words: "Flame on." His clothes burn to reveal the Fantastic Four suit.
They called me a madman.
There's also this great montage where Deadpool goes through multiple universes to find Wolverine, and we get a bunch of Wolverine cameos. We get short Wolverine, like from the comics. We get Patch Wolverine. We get Old Man Logan. We get Weapon Omega Wolverine. We get Crucified Wolverine, and we get Brown Suit Wolverine, which also includes a Hulk cameo. We also get another Wolverine variant, which I just found this like cameo to be very cringe. So this variant of Wolverine is played by Henry Cavill, because there are people who want him as Wolverine because people just cast him as everyone because everyone just loves him. So, yeah, I just felt this scene was just a huge Henry Cavill dick suck. Deadpool even says, "Oh, this feels so right." And he also says, "We'll treat you better than other people," referring to DC. So, I just found this scene, like, very unfunny. It was just made to glaze Henry Cavill. I feel that this is like more of a personal thing for me because I just really don't like Henry Cavill. Like, sure, he seems like a nice guy in real life, but I don't really think he's that good of an actor. I don't understand why the internet loves him so much. Most people love him from Superman, even though he wasn't even good as Superman. People act like he was the perfect Superman when he just had no charisma, and I don't see him playing Wolverine either. Like, the whole scene was just Henry Cavill as Wolverine, that's it. It's like, now clap, wow. And like, this scene just felt like it was written by a Redditor, and it was just pandering to the Henry Cavill meat riders. Speaking of cameos, Deadpool and Wolverine meet 4 familiar faces in the Void. First, we see Jennifer Garner as Elektra, which we kind of already knew about, and you know, it's whatever, the movies she was in were trash, but she was alright here. Then we see someone who I did not expect, Wesley Snipes as Blade. I was very shocked seeing him, since if you don't know, Ryan Reynolds was actually in Blade Trinity as Hannibal King, and Wesley Snipes fucking hated Ryan Reynolds during the filming of the movie, so it was insane to see him return for a Ryan Reynolds Deadpool movie, which, you know, it's been 20 years since Blade Trinity, and I guess it's nice to see that they have buried the hatchet. And Blade was like the first Marvel movie, well, first good one, and it kind of started like Marvel movies, so it's great to see Wesley Snipes back as Blade. So the next person that appears is Channing Tatum as Gambit. If you guys don't know, Fox was originally going to make a Gambit movie with Channing Tatum playing the titular character. The film was unfortunately cancelled due to the Disney-Fox merger. It's great that Channing Tatum finally got to play Gambit, since he seems to be a really big fan of the character, and like I think he was upset when like the film got canceled, and I thought he was great as Gambit. He was like one of my favorite characters in the movie. He was cool and he was really funny. So like Gambit has like a Cajun accent, and Channing Tatum did like the Cajun accent so well, and like I really did not expect him to nail it so much. Seeing him in this movie actually made me mad that we never got a Channing Tatum Gambit movie. Hopefully he could return in a future project. The final character they meet is Daphne Keane as Laura slash X-23, who is from Logan. So seeing her again was great, but they ruined this reveal by spoiling that she was in the movie in the final trailer. It was still good seeing her in the film, though. Daphne Keane did a good job playing her. She was great in Logan back when she was like a kid, and her appearance was well utilized. There was also a great scene of her interacting with Wolverine, and it's heartwarming to see Hugh Jackman and Daphne Keane reunite after Logan. Even though that's not the Wolverine she knew, she sees her Logan in him, and by the end it seems as though he could be a father figure that she couldn't have since her Logan died. The main villain of this film is Cassandra Nova, who is the twin sister of Charles Xavier. She is a very crazy character in the comics. I've actually been reading the new X-Men run by Grant Morrison that she was introduced in. In the comics, she is like the one who committed the mutant genocide on Genosha, which they adapted in X-Men 97, but with Bastion instead of her. Her origin is crazy too. So like her and Professor X were fetuses in the womb, and Cassandra was like the evil fetus. And there was like this fetus fight between Charles and Cassandra, where Charles killed her, but she managed to live and escape the womb somehow. I'm surprised they didn't show the fetus fight in the film, since that scene would fit a Deadpool movie. Yeah, she was played by Emma Corrin, and in this film, she was like the ruler of the Void. Everyone else in the Void, except for like that ragtag group of heroes I mentioned earlier, were like her servants. I thought she was good in the film. I like how they decided to introduce like an insane X-Men villain, and she had a good integration into the film's plot. The movie also portrayed her to be like insane and psychopathic, just like she is in the comics. And they even adapted her, like, you know, putting her hand through people's heads to read their minds. And like at the end of the film, she takes over the universe destroying machine that Paradox from the TVA was making, so she can destroy the multiverse, so there will be no worlds left and it's just the Void. I also found it funny how Wolverine says to Cassandra Nova that Charles wouldn't want him to kill her, even though in the comics Charles just fucking shoots her. Yeah, Cassandra Nova was a pretty good villain who served the plot well and was portrayed well. I also thought Matthew Macfadyen was good as Paradox. He was funny and he was also a good secondary villain. He was like a guy who was working at the TVA who pretty much kicks off the plot of the film. I'm surprised Mobius from Loki never appears in this film, since the TVA played a big part. Paradox kind of takes the role Mobius had in Loki, except Paradox is more evil, and I like how in the MCU, Mobius, Ouroboros, and Paradox are different people, but like in the comics, they're supposed to be the same guy. Paradox was also a good way to introduce the TVA to people who haven't seen Loki, because I don't think people should have to watch a Disney Plus show about Loki to understand the Deadpool movie. This was the first R-rated MCU movie because, you know, the first two Deadpool movies were R-rated, and we know Deadpool just works so much better in an R-rated project. Honestly, I didn't find this movie to be all that vulgar. Of course, this movie had violence, and they say fuck a lot, but it doesn't seem as though they really made use of the R rating. I think the reason why I'm probably thinking this is I've watched every episode of The Boys, and like in between Deadpool 2 and Deadpool 3, we got 4 seasons of The Boys plus Gen V also, and The Boys is way more vulgar from Deadpool. Like, it makes Deadpool look like it's for kids. Honestly, this movie felt like it could have easily been PG-13 if they toned down the violence and cut out all the usage of fuck. I think it would have felt more like Deadpool if they pushed the limits of what could be shown in a superhero movie. And yeah, it's like, this movie is actually like very tame if you compare it to recent superhero projects like The Boys and Invincible. I like the arc Wolverine goes on throughout the film. This version of Wolverine failed his universe, and his X-Men were killed while like he was in a bar. And then, like, the people in his universe hate him, and Paradox considers him to be, like, the worst Wolverine. And he goes on kind of a journey with Deadpool to save the multiverse, and Wolverine has a great redemption arc throughout the film, and it connects really well to Deadpool since they're both failures. Because, like, Deadpool got, like, rejected by the Avengers, and, like, he's just looked down upon, and, like, so Deadpool wants to save his world while Wolverine is just depressed. I also found this movie really funny, but I could see how people can, like, not get the humor. There are obviously jokes in this movie that don't land, and overall, the Deadpool humor is not for everyone. And if you don't like Deadpool as a character, and if you don't care for Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, this movie isn't for you. This movie has a lot of references to pop culture, Marvel movies, and comic books, so yeah, this movie is more made for fans. There are also a lot of times in the movie where they'll do a like cliche or trope used in superhero movies, and then Deadpool would like break the fourth wall and he'd make fun of it. Like he'd be like, "Oh, isn't that so dumb? Like, oh, why are like, look at this overused trope that superhero movies use. Like, this is so stupid." And then, but like they still do it, and like it is funny that he's making fun of like superhero movies, but you know, when you're doing the same things like they're doing, but like except you're self-aware about it, it doesn't really justify it. Like I said, I was afraid that this film would just be a bunch of fan service, but you know, it was really exciting to get Hugh Jackman to return as Wolverine and to get him to interact with Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. Logan was a very great send-off to Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, but this movie actually did a good job at bringing him back without minimizing his death in Logan, and Wolverine and Deadpool are just such a great duo, and to see an entire movie about them played by Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds is exciting. This is a very fun buddy movie between Deadpool and Wolverine, and I was not disappointed, you know. Also, I felt most of the cameos were used pretty well and didn't ruin the film, unlike The Flash. Film also works as a send-off to the Fox Marvel movies, with them bringing back Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, who kind of started these movies. I like how the Void was used as a place where all the characters from the dead Marvel movie universes went. So there was even a destroyed 20th Century Fox logo in the Void. Yeah, I also liked how this movie didn't try to be important to the MCU or like set up Secret Wars, more focused on being an ending to both the X-Men movies and other Fox Marvel movies. So something I was kind of disappointed with was how the film didn't really make use of Deadpool's side characters. Like, they show up for the birthday scene and in the ending, but they don't really do much. Peter from Deadpool 2 plays kind of a role where he and Deadpool are like selling cars in the beginning, and when all the Deadpools show up, they all get excited when they see Peter, which I thought was pretty funny. But Cable, Domino, and Russell like did not show up. I was sad that we didn't get to see Cable and Domino because they were really good in Deadpool 2. Like, I guess Josh Brolin was probably too busy filming Dune, but I don't know why they couldn't bring back Zazie Beetz as Domino. Like, she could have been in the birthday scene. They didn't have Domino, Cable, and like Russell, but they had Shatterstar for some reason. Like, no one likes that guy. And also, like, what happened to the X-Force? I guess they disbanded? Maybe Cable got pissed off when Deadpool used his time travel thing and like went back to the future. So like him saying, "Oh, I guess I'll stick around" at the end of Deadpool 2 meant nothing. So I guess Wolverine kind of played the part Cable would have had, so there wouldn't have been a point in having him. But I still would have loved if like Cable and Domino at least had a cameo or like a mention. Overall, Deadpool and Wolverine was a good movie that I very much enjoyed. The movie did a good job at handling Hugh Jackman returning as Wolverine, and the dynamic between him and Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool was really good. I enjoyed the cameos in the film, and I like how this concluded the X-Men franchise. I had a lot of fun with this movie, and I would recommend it to anyone who likes Deadpool or Wolverine or Marvel movies in general. So I don't think this saved the MCU, I wouldn't say that, and I wouldn't say that this is a masterpiece, but it is overall a good movie. I think that the MCU really should stop using the multiverse and fan service, because I personally think the more they do it, the less impactful it is. I think this movie would be good as the last multiverse movie filled with cameos. Personally, I'm concerned for Secret Wars because all fans want is just a bunch of cameos, and I would much prefer if the films actually focused on being good instead of focusing on having as much fan service as possible. But, now we're hearing that Avengers 5, that's going to be a Doctor Doom movie. Before it was Kang Dynasty, but now it's like Doomsday. Robert Downey Jr. is back, but instead he's Doctor Doom. So yeah, I think that would definitely be through multiverse. Like seeing Robert Downey Jr. like come back as Doctor Doom, I think, that could actually be good. Like similar to how Chris Evans came back, but instead of Captain America, Human Torch. So this movie is doing well now, and people really enjoy it. I hope that Marvel learns the right lessons from this movie. And I mean, guess they learned a lesson that bringing former stars is like good, like bring back Hugh Jackman. So like they brought back Robert Downey Jr. So I don't know, that could be good or bad. So yeah, my name is Noob, and thanks for watching.